I'm going to go back to the drawing board
There you
and
go.
be like, I'm just gonna write with a pen and paper like I did the very first time all those years ago. No, man, I got 2 chapters in and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
not doing it.
It looks like we're live now.
All right.
Yes, we are.
Did Jack
I
freeze?
still don't know what the heck's going on.
Oh, he froze.
Jack
No,
Frost.
I'm here.
Is he moving? Everybody move. We're in our own little windows. Everybody move. There we go.
And
He's
Jack
not
was
moving.
just talking about how Zoom is so much better because he doesn't freeze.
All righty.
How's that Zoom going there, Jack?
I had to switch it over to the tablet because the laptop didn't like it. So here we are, and we are live in the Book Asylum. Hello, everybody. I am Jack Childress. That is Kristen Vincent. Dungeondan Uebel giving me crap as always. Wouldn't have it any other way. Anthony Castro back in the place. And our guest this week is the one and only C. Derick Miller.
Ooh, thank God there's only one.
So, man, how have you been doing, brother?
Let me tell you, since I've stopped being busy, I've become very busy. So been doing a lot of writing, been a lot of writing, a lot of thinking, a lot of deep thoughts, a lot of trying to figure out where the next move is. So working on a couple of little things right now, but nothing too major.
Oh, well, now let me ask you something. You had a little issue not too long ago. Now you want to tell everybody a little bit about that, and then we'll get on to the more fun stuff.
Absolutely. To all the other writers out there, I'm going to tell you 2 quick stories, and then this is how to protect your writing career. Number 1, I had to totally reboot my writing career in 2016. I've been writing for 10 years at that point, and I had to totally reboot the whole thing because I went through a divorce, and that woman I divorced had some Hollywood connections, and she got an entertainment lawyer involved in our divorce, and she was granted 30% royalties of every single thing I sold from that moment on.
Ooh.
Everything that I wrote while she and I were together, not just married, but dating as well.
Ouch.
Which was everything I had written up to that point. So rather than pay her 30% of royalties, I took everything off the market and completely burned my writing career to the ground and just reboot. So if there's any writers out there listening, that can happen. It's a thing. It happened to me. It can happen to you. So keep that in mind. I know prenuptial agreements sound insulting. When it comes to your finances and your career as an artist, it is not. So the next story is I was one of those kids who was totally infatuated with steam locomotives, and I promised myself when I was a little kid that I was going to find a way to drive one. So after I retired from my day job, I started going to Six Flags a lot on Friday and riding roller coasters because I would reward myself throughout the week. If I stuck to my writing schedule throughout the week, I would reward myself on Friday with roller coasters. I know I'm 49, like I need to be jostled around that much. But just remembered suddenly, just like a repressed memory, either something that you forgot from your childhood or whatever just popped up. I'm like, oh my God, I forgot how in love with this train I used to be. So I just walked up to a random guy in overalls and I'm like, hey man, I've always wanted to do this. What do I have to do to drive this thing? And the guy was like, you're hired. Because I'm so shorthanded, you're hired. Wow. So for 9 months, I became the real me for a while, and not just see Derick Miller all the time. I was going by my legal name at work, and I didn't talk about my writing career much. And when I did, I only talked about it to certain people because I know some of the stuff I write is not the most publicly acceptable stuff out there. So after 9 months, just working there, being absolutely in love with being on that railroad. I mean, I was in love with that job so much, I would have done it for free. And, just real close-knit family with a lot of people that worked on the railroad, guys who had been working on that railroad since the 70s and 80s. That railroad was their life. And just it had been a while. It'd been a while since I'd been that close to people, especially since, the pandemic. So I fell in love with it. I was getting really good at what I was doing. I was in the process of advancing. I think 2 weeks before this went down, I actually won like a quarterly employee of the month type thing, or of the quarter type thing. And that's why this caught me off guard. I received a call on a Thursday afternoon from the Human Resources Department of Six Flags Over Texas. And they're like, do you have any idea what this is about? And I'm like, no. I thought maybe another guest had made like a compliment or something, and they're like, well, you haven't seen the TikTok video then. And I'm completely clueless as to what they're talking about. I'm like, dude, I don't even have a TikTok. I personally, now, if you're an author out there that uses TikTok, hey, so be it. I'm proud of you. You figured it out. You're better than I am. I think TikTok is just a boil on the ass of humanity, man. I can't stand it. It drives me insane. So I'm like, no, I haven't seen this TikTok. And he told me that someone had created a TikTok, someone that claimed to be a guest had made a TikTok video with pictures of me at work and then my pen name. And it was part of a page from Starving Zoe that was totally taken out of context. They accused me of being a pedophile. And there was really no way to argue it. I'm like, look, yes, that is me. I've been writing now for 15 years. That is my full-time job. I've worked for magazines, I've worked for newspapers, I've done it all. I am a writer. This job that I'm doing here is my fun job, and I go by 2 different names. And they're like, well, this was a guest that found out it was you, and they tagged us in the TikTok. And we don't know where to go from here. We're going to talk to corporate legal and see what the next step is. And I'm like, guys, surely, like this is ridiculous. Stephen King does not dress up as a clown and go hang out in the sewers and murder children during the week. This is fiction. This is what I do is real life, and then there is fiction, and that is fiction. And this is obviously somebody who doesn't know the difference between the two. So a day passed. I hadn't heard anything. I took it upon myself to contact them, and I'm like, well, what did you guys decide? And they wanted to get me off the phone so quickly it wasn't even funny. They're like, well, we talked about it with corporate legal, and we got to let you go.
Wow.
And there was no face-to-face. There was no like investigation. There was nothing signed, anything. And I'm just blown away that this happened. It is so incredibly crazy. So then I got onto TikTok and I looked at the video. The video came from an account of someone that claimed to be an employee, a fellow employee. So I called Six Flags back, and I'm like, look, this is not a guest. This is someone who's claiming to be an employee. I need to like begin my legal right for protections in a hostile work environment. And they're like, no, it's too late, man. You're gone. Like there's nothing you can do. And I'd written Starving Zoe 3 years prior to working there. And somebody found a copy of Starving Zoe in the Minneapolis Public Library the other day. I mean, are we supposed to think that, Six Flags HR department is more knowledgeable than a librarian? Come on, man. But I fought it. I tried to fight it. I tried to be a big of a presence in like social media as the person who complained did. It didn't work. I was even tagging the CEO of the worldwide corporation and all my posts. It didn't work. And I know tons of you guys out there were doing the same thing. It didn't work. They basically just waited for us to get quiet, and then it all went away. So, they won. But I did after a little bit more research, I noticed that TikTok account only had 3 followers. 2 of those followers were friends with my ex-wife. So, and the TikTok account was deleted completely deleted the entire account like 10 minutes after I'd gotten fired.
Wow.
So this is where we are, folks. This is where
It's
we
like
are.
a smear campaign to me.
Yeah. This
You
is
know?
this is where we are. And I went through that divorce 7 years ago. I've moved I live in Dallas now. I don't live in the small town that I grew up in most of my life. I'm remarried. I've moved on. It's 7 years. My entire life is completely different than what it was 7 years ago. And there's just some people in this world that just can't let go.
Nope. I know all about that. Yeah, man, that's crazy. It's like gum on the bottom of your shoe. It just sticks and won't let go, man. But I'm sorry that happened to you, man. That's rough. That's really rough.
It's insane. And if you take a step back and you look at the entire scenario, like the big picture, I mean, this could happen to anybody who's an artist or puts themselves out there on social media. Now I understand if you're an actual pedophile, or I understand it if you're running around social media making like death threats or like being like a government extremist or something like that. And then if it's brought to somebody's attention, then sure, fire that person. That person obviously has some issues that you don't want to associate your company with. But the fact that I had written it 3 years prior to even applying for a job there, I had also included all of that information about my pen name and my life, my everything. That was all on the job application. None of that should have been a secret.
Yeah.
It was all on my job application. But just anybody can do this. And for the big corporation to save face, rather, they didn't care if they got, accused of cancel culture or anything like that. No, it's in order for them to save face, they just completely screwed me over. And, it's not about the money. That was never a job I needed. That was a job I wanted. It's not about the money or anything like that. It was just, I promised myself as a young child that I was going to do a certain thing, and I never got to go all the way there. I was so close. I could feel it, literally. I mean, I was training to be an engineer on a 126-year-old steam locomotive. Where else am I going to get that opportunity unless I, move to another part of the country or something? Those things aren't just around every corner. So somebody knew that I was just way too happy about my life, and they threw a wrench in that shit quickly.
Well, damn it.
We done
All
with
right.
this story yet?
Yeah,
Let's move on to something better.
Here we go.
I'm sorry,
Now-
did I depress everyone?
Now, Anthony, we were talking last night, and I think you would really want to, once we got past the dark side of the interview today.
Yeah. I was because I know about Starving Zoe and the Six Flag incident, but outside of that, I really don't know much about your career and what you've done, what you've been into. So I kind of just wanted to get the quick rundown of notable things that you've been doing, awards, other books that maybe I haven't heard of, and maybe some conventions that you might have coming up or something.
Yeah, I mean, other Starving Zoe is what I'm known for, and not all of that is good. There's some reviews out there that are pretty questionable. That in the beginning I didn't quite know how to keep my mouth shut, and I would challenge people, don't do that. Mm-hmm. Whatever you do, don't do that. Laugh at the bad reviews and just let them roll off your shoulder. Don't argue, because my God, there are people in this community who will come back and get you. You'll wish you got fired from Six Flags. But I started writing like professionally. I was first. I did a weird backward career. When I was first published, the first 3 times they were by traditional publishers.
Yeah.
And then I got with a literary agency in the UK and was working with those guys for a while. And then I went indie, and then I went splatterpunk indie. Now I don't know where I am anymore. I don't know. I just my newest motto is this is rated R podcast, right?
Oh yeah.
My
Who
newest
rated
motto
nothing?
is
Go ahead.
my newest motto is fuck the business, just create. Just like we did in the very beginning before we got involved with publishers and conferences and fans and things like that. You wrote because you wanted to write. You wrote because you loved it. And then I think after so long, we get so preoccupied with the publishing portion of it and the PR campaigns and the merch and the everything and the appearances. And I think this is the year where I'm going to go back to me, 15 years ago when I was just writing off the wall wacky stuff just because I had to. Otherwise, my head was going to explode. And then if it gets picked up on, it gets picked up on. But I started writing. I was first published in 2007. I was really big into paranormal investigation. I did that for 10 years of my life. And I wrote a few books about they were kind of like journals, really, of my day-to-day life as a paranormal investigator. And those are the books that are completely off the market. So those were the ones that were a part of the divorce. But then I got into fiction, and I have a werewolf fiction trilogy, soon to be trilogy. I'm going to write that third book eventually. The first book is called A Taste of Home. The second book is called Far From Home. And then, I did a book with Death's Head called Extinguished. It's currently off the market. Death's Head Press changed hands recently, and they claim that they weren't able to find mine and quite a few other people's manuscripts for certain things. So they just returned the rights to us, even though we had like 2 years left on our contracts. They returned the rights, and I'm going to re-release that sometime in June. So that one's extinguished. And then there came the splatter westerns. And then I've been putting out a lot of short stories with a lot of different people. Just recently, first of all, this is a hardback copy of Starving Zoe. There was a limited edition, like 50 books of each of the first 8 splatter westerns, I believe. So this is one of 50. I'm sure you can find those on eBay for like 50 cents a pop now. I'm kidding. No, they're great. Very beautiful. And those Justin Kuhn's covers, man. The Splatter Western series looks amazing. But I was just released in this week. This is called Headblown. It's a Texas AuthorCon 2023 anthology. A big chunk of the people who are going to be there contributed short story to this. I sit on the board directors for Texas AuthorCon. This is year 2. We went last year. I think we had 13 authors, and it was like a 4-hour event, and we didn't expect it to go anywhere, and it exploded. I mean, nonstop selling books, meeting people. So this year, it's a 2-day event. There is going to be, I believe, close to 70 authors. So it's kind of turning into a big deal.
Where's this going to be?
It's Dallas. Well, Dallas. Richardson, outside of Dallas. So
I'm down in Austin. So.
Oh yeah. So yeah. Well, we have KillerCon down there every year in Austin. So, but Texas AuthorCon will be July 14th, July 15th here in the Dallas Richardson area. So. Gonna be a lot of people.
I wanted to bring it back. You said something about you were a paranormal investigator. I find that extraordinarily interesting. I am very big into the paranormal.
That was
where are some of the coolest places that you've investigated?
Okay, get ready for the irony. Six Flags Over Texas.
Really?
Yes. In 2008. In 2008, the PR director at the time at Six Flags Over Texas contacted me because we'd been in newspapers and stuff like that every now and then, a couple of magazine articles. The PR director for Six Flags had stumbled across us somehow. I think at the time it was MySpace, and asked if me and my team would be willing to stay the night in the park and talk to some of the other employees about, I guess, like hauntings and legends about the park. So we met with probably about 20 of the suit and tie people, and all of them had a ghost story. Wow. It was so insane. When they said, we're going to get you to talk to some people, we thought it was going to be like kids, like ride operators and, food vendors and stuff. No, these were the suit and tie people, and they've all had ghost stories from staying in the park. So we got to actually fulfill the Scooby-Doo fantasy. We got to stay the night in the haunted amusement park. But we did that. We did the Hall of Languages at Texas A&M. Couple other things too, I guess. Courthouses, old train stations, I mean, public private residences, you name it. It engulfed my life entirely for an entire decade. Every single bit of my spare time was either sent looking for new places to investigate or going over hours and hours of audio from an empty room with a tape recorder in it. That was 10 long years of my life. And when I got divorced, that was kind of a she and I thing that we shared together as co-founders of that group. So when we divorced, we just nipped it all in the bud, man. Just no more. And I've only done like maybe 2 investigations since 2016. I've took my mother on one this last year because she wanted to do that for her birthday. She said, my son did all of this ghost hunting for 10 years and never took his mom. So that's what I want to do for my birthday. So we rented out Hill House Manor in a town called Gainesville, Texas, which has been on quite a few of those paranormal TV shows on like Travel Channel and stuff like that. Yeah. So we rented out that house for the night, and me and my mother stayed the night in it.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, we almost went and did that once, but we just couldn't fit the bill at the time. But I definitely want to go there sometime.
I have a bag of equipment sitting in a closet that is just covered in dust. It's almost a separate lifetime ago. It really is. I look back on it as that was another guy, and I was just observing, his life in third person. So
yeah, I hear you.
It's interesting. I know that whenever I was younger, we used to go to there was a place down close by Lumberton, Texas called Saratoga Road.
I've heard of Saratoga. I don't know about Lumberton. What part is that? I mean, people that have never been to Texas don't understand how incredibly big it is.
Yeah.
Not Lumberton, Nederland, Texas. It was somewhere by Nederland, which is over there by like Port Neches and
we're talking East Texas. We're talking swampy Texas. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, Saratoga is like this really long dirt road. You've got nothing but woods on both sides of the road. And there's these like orbs that will like pop up out of nowhere and they follow you. There's been stories that there's supposedly graveyards that are in these wooded areas. There's also been stories that there's a plant somewhere over there which is causing a chemical reaction for these
swamp gas
glowing orbs. But
Bigfoot farts.
It's pretty cool though. But I definitely there's a few places here in Tennessee that I want to go to, and there's a place in Birmingham, Alabama I want to go to called the Sloss Furnace.
Oh yeah, I know about Sloss. Yeah.
I want to go so bad.
Yeah. Cool. The limit of my East Texas experience, horror author Wiley Young, who also did splatter western, the Magpie Coffin. Yeah, the first splatter western, Magpie Coffin. Such a good damn book. He grew up in like the bayous of East Texas, and his family had a huge like 2-story house on stilts down there. So Wiley Young, myself, Mike Innenbach, Chris Miller, and PC3, Patrick Harrison III, we all went and stayed like a 4-day weekend at this house in the bayou. And it was right before any of the splatter westerns ever came out, but it was like a little writer's retreat out in the middle of nowhere. And we went out in the boat about midnight searching for alligators. And we were out there for hours and didn't see a single one. So like just 20 miles of bayou and not a single alligator. I don't know if it was, it was like Stanley Cup night and they were all watching TV. I don't know. I don't know what it was. That alligator conference, not a single damn alligator. It was insane. But just 5 crazy horror authors in a house in the swamp for a weekend, man. It was insane. And those guys are all amazing. authors as well.
Awesome sauce. Well, now here's the thing. I'm kind of new to writing. No big surprise there. What was one of the things you struggled with early on when you first started down that path of being an author?
What I struggled with early on, because my first couple of books were writing about life. Basically it was journals, and I had no plans of publishing this shit to begin with. Like I said, we're back in the MySpace days, and I was blogging this stuff, and someone said, man, you should really take this stuff off the internet, first of all. Second of all, you should be compiling it all into a book. And that was my very first book, was called A Ghost Hunter's Journal. And then I did a second one. It was called We Believe You, A Ghost Hunter's Journal Continues. And then I combined them and had an editor in the UK go through them and kind of just turned both books into one book. And it was called Diary of a Gonzo Ghost Hunter, because I'm big Hunter S. Thompson freak. I'm in love with his style of writing. I write gonzo journals every morning on my website. And I guess I try to mimic his style as much as I can. It's impossible because I'm sober now. But yeah, love Hunter S. Thompson. So I was writing about life in the beginning, and I'm like, my God, how much of my life do I put into this? Do I say everything? Do I just shock people, or do I just be really blunt about stuff? But then, nobody wants that. We were living in the age of the dawn of social media. Nobody wants that. They want to live inside your head. They want to see it all. They want the honest truth, or they want just crazy fiction. Nobody wants norm. They either want honest truth or crazy fiction. Everybody's an extremist now. We're either on one side of the scale or the other. So I decided to just be as honest as I could, and I think that's why so many people dug it in the beginning. I mean, that book has faded off into obscurity now, but I had my very first book signing at a Hastings bookstore. If you're from like smaller towns in the South, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They've all gone out of business now.
You can't find one anywhere.
No, but I had my very first book signing at a Hastings bookstore. There were 50 people in line before I even sat down.
Cool.
So, I'm from a fairly small town in Northeast Texas called Greenville. When you Google search it, under images, the very first thing that pops up is a sign that they used to have on Main Street that said, "Welcome to Greenville, the blackest land, the whitest people." That hung there until 1969. So that's what my hometown is known for. And they were also known for having more churches per capita than any other city in the United States there for a long time. It's not a thing anymore, but they were like that for a very long time. So
Wow.
Religion is a big part of my hometown. Well, of course, you can imagine what everybody thought about the ghost hunters.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we were just evil. We were evil. We were introducing their children to Satanism. So
Well, yeah.
you were either a fan of mine or you weren't. Yeah, lots of things from like city council and preachers and stuff like that trying to stop us from doing things. And it was 10 years of hell. It really was. But my biggest problem when I started out, it wasn't the writing. That stuff just flowed. I couldn't stop it. It was how much I should write or how honest I should be. So, and
I think
now
not being honest about in your writing, you're cheating yourself as a writer. And
Right.
that's why whenever I do what I do, like I've written some stuff like in my my AUD fan fiction that I'm doing.
Which is brilliant, by the way.
Literally, huh?
Which is brilliant, by the way.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's very cool. But it's me. Like I wrote the character is me, Anthony Castro. My dog is Tucker. He's whining back here because mommy's not home. But he's in the story, and we are us. And I talk about people and places that I actually know and actually live and all that stuff. And I don't really sugarcoat very much about it, So when it comes to people getting mad at you for what you wrote or whatever like that. It's like, hey, you know what? I may not feel like that in like the time that we're speaking at the moment or whatever, but at some point I did feel like that and I wrote it down, and I don't erase it and go back and say, oh, you know what, I'm gonna go and redact that and this and this. It is what it is, man.
No, you think that, hey, if you don't like that, just don't read it.
Exactly.
But then you come into situations where certain parts, like people are skimming, they're taking things out of context, and people lose their jobs. So
Yep.
Yeah, because didn't you say that Starving Zoe was more of historical?
It's a period
Right.
piece.
Yeah.
It's a period piece. It's part of the Splatter Western series.
Mhm.
And my wife works as my editor, and she is very meticulous. And she would go through Starving Zoe and be like, okay, they didn't use this word back then. They didn't use this phrase back then. This was not invented back then. This was, and I mean, like, she stayed on top of it. She made it as period accurate as possible. I had to change so much, even stuff that I thought or I'd seen in other books or on TV shows. I guess that person who was in charge of continuity didn't do their research. But my wife stayed on top of it. Also, she would be like, oh, yeah, you need to ramp this up a little bit. You need to tell us what it smells like. You need to tell us what it sounds like. Okay. So if I'm going to point the finger at anybody responsible for everything that's happened to me since Starving Zoe's release, I'm going to blame my wife.
There you go.
That's why I try to stay very much in the fantasy or fictional, genre, because all that research on history is just tedious. And as much as I like history, I didn't want to spend day in and day out researching it so that I can write something. I just like to get down and write it. Just write it. And
Well, it's like the joke about the reviewer that reviewed someone's book, gave them a 1 star, and said, I gave it a 1 star because it was like the author was making this shit up as they went along. Duh.
I got news for you, pal. Yeah. Well, and Starving Zoe is different. Starving Zoe is Splatter Western book 5. And I read the first one, which was Wiley Young's Magpie Coffin. I'm like, my God, this is genius and nothing like what I wrote. And then I read Mike Innenbach's Hunger on the Chisholm Trail. And I'm like, my God, this is genius, yet it's nothing like what I wrote. Then I read Chris Miller's Dust, and I'm like, all right, mine is going to send people on a fast left turn. And so then I read Christine Morgan's The Night Silver River Run Red, which is my favorite of all the Splatter Westerns, actually. I'm like, okay, she's kind of getting near to where I'm going, but still nowhere near it. What I had done is I waited until I was 44 years old to read Catcher in the Rye. And I read the first half of it, and I'm like, man, I fucking hate this. I was like, this dude is I'm like, I have grandchildren. All right. I'm 49. I have grandchildren. I'm like, this dude is whiny. Like this dude is pissing me off. The years that it's taking place, he don't want to go to school, then fine, go to war, because at the time that was written, we were at war. Just shut up, you spoiled ass little rich kid. So I put the book back in my backpack for 6 months, and then I'm like, all right, I'm not going to let this book beat me. So I pulled it back out and I finished reading it. And then I sat there for days. I'm like, man, I hate that book. Hate that book. That was just hate it. Okay. So then I read it again. And then I fell in love with J.D. Salinger's narration style. I didn't fall in love with Holden Caulfield. Holden Caulfield's a whiny dick. But J.D. Salinger's narration style, where you just spend the entire book inside of Holden Caulfield's head, and he's just rambling. It's like he's J.D. Salinger was writing down Holden Caulfield's every thought, and that was the book. And I thought to myself, I wonder if anyone has ever written a horror book that way. Because the style in which I write, already being really just gonzo, is perfect for that. So then I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna write this story about a guy, and he ends up killing a girl, and the girl comes back for revenge. And I was gonna call it Screaming of the Trees. So then I got Death's Head Press reached out to me and they're like, hey, we're doing this splatter western series. Would you do a splatter western novella? Sure. Well, I guess this is going to be my off the wall Gonzo JD Salinger tribute. So I read Catcher in the Rye again. I read Hunter S. Thompson's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas again. And then I read my very first splatterpunk book that I'd ever read, which was Ed Lee's Header. And I kind of made a love child of those three, Catcher in the Rye, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and Header. And it's insane. I mean, what are the chances that all four of you guys have read it, or three of you guys now?
Yeah, Dan dropped off.
Yeah. It's so different from the other splatter westerns that came before it. And I even tried to tell those guys, I'm like, look, man, my book's gonna suck because it's nothing like y'all's. and then they're like, well, our books aren't the same. I'm like, yes, I know. That's not what I meant. I mean, it's nothing like y'all's.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, 12 hours after release, the first Amazon review shows up, and it's a 1-star review by someone who's pretty big in the community. And it's like, this guy is obviously a misogynist, juvenile, wife beater, animal abuser. And I'm like, oh, how are you so big in this community if you can't tell the difference between fact and fiction? And then here it 3 years later, the same thing happens and I lose a job.
Right. But
yeah, it's been Starving Zoe has been a long ride, but there's more. I wrote a sequel.
Nice.
I wrote an entire sequel, and I was sitting on it because I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with it. And Death's Head Press started changing hands, and I'm like, oh man, I don't know if this is something I'm going to submit to them just out of a courtesy since they have the first one, or if I'm just going to self-publish it and try to bring some of that fan base over to my brand. Well, then I got contacted by a video game company, and one of their programmers had read Starving Zoe, and they really wanted me to write, I guess, the story, the cut scenes for a horror Western video game.
Oh, cool.
Dude,
So
you
I'm
can
like,
make tons off of that.
Yeah. So I said, okay. So I sent them what I had written for the Starving Zoe sequel. They fell in love with it. Tweaked a few things here and there, changed a few things. So now this horror video game is in the works that is going to run along the storyline of the Starving Zoe sequel called Guns Immortal.
Oh, cool.
All the main characters from Starving Zoe are actually going to be bosses in the game. I can't say too much because I'm under an NDA, but it's like 2 years away. It's going to be a splatter Western video game that has the characters from Starving Zoe, and it's going to be kind of done like a traditional classic arcade beat 'em up from like the late 80s, early 90s. Let's say like a Double Dragon or something like that.
Yeah, dude.
But awesome. The graphics are going to be mocap like the original Mortal Kombat.
Cool.
And there's going to be cutscenes in it along, let's say, like Metal Gear Solid or The Last of Us or whatever.
Yeah.
So I have to go.
You got to go bigger than that, man. Final Fantasy, dude. Come on.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever played a Western that's like a turn-based fighting system. That would be
cool. That's my style. See, I can't do first-person games. Yeah, it's not even a Vertigo thing. It's just like it doesn't work for me. I like having to move my vision up and down with sticks. Come on, dude. I literally just do this.
I'm very much into the turn-based strategy games. My favorite one being XCOM. I don't know if you've heard of it or played it.
I remember it. My biggest one was Knights of the Old Republic, the Star Wars game. That was a good one. So yeah, so I sold my Starving Zoe sequel to a video game company. And the video game, it should be out in the next couple of years. They're an indie developer. They're still pretty new, but they're really excited. And then I started talking to them about maybe taking a couple of my older novels and using them as stories in a video game. So I might be making the jump, guys. I might be making the jump.
Dude, do it. Hell, get out there, because what I would like to see is a splatterpunk style game that is hack and slash, like God of War, that type of thing. Golden Axe, if you really want to go old school, but bloody and brutal and over the top and with a great story. That right there I would eat that up.
I mean, it's something that I mean, I know there's quite a few in our community. They started out very indie, and they write scripts for films or TV shows or what have you. They're slowly making their way into that transition. I don't think any of us, I haven't seen any of us yet make the bridge over to video games. So
exactly. And now with VR becoming such a big thing, man, splatterpunk in VR.
Wow.
Dude, you got people puking all over their systems. I mean, it's
I think it'd be great.
It would be great. Now, here's a question I got for you. I'm going to get it out before I forget it again. As you write splatterpunk, now I have read a couple of splatterpunks. The one particular that I read is this one right here, Fester by Merrill David, which I'm in, by the way. There's a chapter 10. It's infamous. When you're writing splatterpunk, do you ever literally have to back away and go, I'm about to make myself sick? Has that happened to you?
Yeah, there's a story coming out in a couple of weeks. It's a Western horror anthology. It's called Shut Up and Bleed. And it was put together by Ben Blankenship, or BL Blankenship. And it's got Megan Stockton in it. It's got Christine Morgan in it. Keith Lansdale was going to be in it. He had to back out at the last minute for some reason. But this is coming out in a couple of weeks. And it's another splatter Western. And, this was, I mean, you can't have an Old West story without a train in it, So
right.
This is, yeah. So, I was knee deep into my little railroad career, and I got asked to write this story. And so I was going to make it revolve around my, a train, my hometown, just stuff like that. And it's called Hellfire and Blood. And I kill somebody in it in such a way that I had to take, I still, when I'm thinking about it now, I'm like, my God, people are going to read this in 2 weeks. I'm kind of curious how they're going to take it, especially now with, the sudden re-up and popularity by Starving Zoe for all the wrong reasons. I just, there's some things in Starving Zoe that are just like, Lisa Lee Tone. She's an editor and a book reviewer. She told me when she was beta reading Starving Zoe that there was a moment where she had to lay the book down and stop herself from throwing up. So I don't know if we're going to get the same effect with Hellfire and Blood, but it's something I've never even heard of before in a book or a movie or anything. It's a very unique way to kill somebody, and I'm just and it's followed up half a page later with something else too. And it's, people have problems with two things in splatterpunk books right now. They're like, I'll read this, but I don't want, three things actually. They don't like it. They don't like it when somebody gets raped.
No, that's kind of bad.
In Starving Zoe, well, I don't want to be a spoiler. Anyway,
yeah, no spoiler.
I'm not going to spoil.
Spoilers,
I'm not going to spoil that part. They don't like to read about rape. They don't like to read about when dogs die, when animals die, when animals get abused.
Dude, that's rule number 1 right there.
Yeah. And they don't like it when babies get killed. So
see, that one doesn't bother me. I mean, think the Dawn of the Dead remake.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There's that scene. I just was like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Kill that damn biting kid.
I on somebody's recommendation, I finally watched 30 Days of Night last night.
I like
And
that movie.
That's a
yeah,
good movie.
that was great. That was great. Had a child scene in it too. But
Yep.
yeah, I'm a big animal lover. My wife and I both are big animal lovers. We have cats. We keep snakes.
See, that's the part I have an issue with you on right there, bud. I ain't dealing with no damn snake.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
Well,
my
I
our
have to come visit you with one.
our snakes love us. They really do. I would bring one into the shop right now if I could.
Oh, I would run away in terror, even though you are literally several states away from me. I would still run
wanna
away
get
in
Scarlett
terror.
out, and we'll
That's-
make her a part of the live stream.
Oh boy,
Uh,
we do welcome pets onto the show. It's kind of a thing.
My wife has a bad habit of capturing and keeping lizards and snakes and frogs and turtles. If it's amphibious or a reptilian, she'll love it. You know.
Oh, my friend Kathy, she's got an iguana. I think it's an iguana. The body of the thing is like this long. Then you throw the tail on it, and it's like this long. It's gigantic. So I went over to help them move, and I'm like going wide berth around its enclosure, like nope, not messing with that big ass thing. Because I mean, I'm
Yeah,
talking
we're gonna let nature make the call. We've taken the lid off. If she comes out, then I'll bring her in the shot. If she doesn't, then I won't. But we're gonna leave it up to the snake.
That's usually the right idea.
Yeah.
Let the snake decide. Oh, y'all should have seen me. I was at the Bigfoot Festival a couple of weeks ago.
Oh yeah,
and-
I remember that.
Well, me and Richard went to this place called the Abbey to have a beer, just hanging out. So we're sitting at this little table outside by the little river that runs out there, and all of a sudden Richard kind of looks back and he's like, "Oh hell, there's a snake in that bush behind us, dude." I almost landed in the lap of the people at the table across from us, and then he's like, "Oh, actually, wait, there's two of them," and I'm like, "Dude, we gotta go."
That's
Like,
great.
he's
Show's
No.
over. Gotta go. Pack up.
Well, people don't like it when you kill an animal in a story, and I agree. I mean, that's what set John Wick off, right? We shouldn't, but I think, I think the other things in horror, they have their place. They have their time. I mean, let's say if you're an author that every story you wrote, you raped somebody, I would say you might have a problem.
yeah.
But just for something like that to happen for the sake of the story, I'm cool with it. So there's going to be that, not in a traditional sense, mind you, but there's going to be that in my upcoming story in the Western Horror Anthology. And I'm gonna have to kill a baby too. So
Oh yeah.
but it's like they're well, some people get the baby death at the beginning of the story, and then the rape happens at the end of the story. I'm going to give them the baby death and the rape like within a page of each other. I'm just going to give them the double whammy, just ping.
Hot
ping.
damn. Just go and just drop that bomb. Boom.
Yeah, I mean, what are they going to do? Fire me?
So now I'm just curious. Unless go ahead, Kristen. Go ahead.
I've read a lot of splatterpunk, and haven't been victim to certain things. I think for me, it's more of pushing my boundaries. And so far, I haven't read anything that I have not liked. I've had to put one book away because I almost threw up. It's called Effing Filth by Matt Shaw. And
Matt is so crazy.
tell you, like, the book is great. It's got an awesome storyline, but the detail in the book is just like, oh my gosh.
There are quite a few there's one that I read where I almost threw up, but that's because I was eating it at the dinner table. I was like eating and reading at the same time, and that was Dead Inside by Chandler Morrison. And then I've read Womb by Duncan Ralston. That's a damn good one. Grandpappy by Patrick Harrison III, PC3.
I am so glad he changed the cover of that, because I like to hang books on my wall, and I would like to get like everybody at some point, like literally wrap my entire room in nothing but books. But that original cover with that foot, Hell no, that ain't going on my damn wall.
I read that copy, the paperback copy with the foot. I read that on a plane, and there were people staring it down. It was it was hilarious.
Oh God! I mean, the cover alone, it's like, well, yeah, this is gonna be gross.
Yeah,
You just already know.
but we most of those guys, and some more like Wrath James White and stuff like that. Like we burst onto the splatterpunk scene with Death's Head when they released their very first anthology. It was called And Hell Followed, and I have a short story in that called Hell Paso. But it's like the splatterpunk take on what we think happens if the Book of Revelation comes true. So we did that, and it was submitted for a Splatterpunk Award in 2020, and it actually won Splatterpunk Anthology of the Year.
Nice.
So I know with Death's Head changing hands and kind of putting their eggs in different baskets now, I've noticed on Amazon, because I check ratings and reviews every day, sometimes twice a day. It's just one of those things I wish I could break away from, but I can't. I can stop smoking, I can stop drinking, but I can't stop looking at my reviews on Amazon. It's hard, it's difficult. So I noticed that the number of ratings and reviews on Amazon and Goodreads for And Hell Followed are just like they're climbing every day, like 10 more every day. And I'm like, okay, well, they're doing some PR for that book at some place. I just haven't seen it yet, but somebody's reading it. I highly recommend that for anybody out there that hadn't.
I see here it says something about has a price on his head for that story, Hell Paso. What's the story behind that?
Oh my goodness, guys, this is a good one. When I was like real deep with Death's Head, I know the main guy asked me, please don't publicly talk about this, because this is an ongoing investigation, but I haven't heard from that guy in forever, so I'm just going to talk about it.
All right.
So the night that And Hell Followed was released, there's a bar in my hometown that was gonna host the release party, and Patrick Harrison III was there, Chris Miller was there, Wiley Young was there, Jared Barbie was there, T-shirt Joe Garcia. If you're in the horror community and you ever buy T-shirts at cons, it's probably from him. He was there. That's where I met him for the first time. So we had a release party at this little bar. We had live music. We got a guy to come play like a 4-hour long acoustic set. And it was just great. We're just slinging books and slinging drinks and having a good time. And before the night commenced, I guess somebody was a little ticked off about the subject matter. You know, like I said, I come from a town where there's more churches per capita than any other city in the world. And the subject matter of And Hell Followed is a splatterpunk take on the Book of Revelation. So I believe, I don't know which authors he got into a Facebook fight with, but he threatened to kill all of us that were going to be at the book release party.
Wow.
Now, I didn't find out about this until midway through the night. And I laughed it off because it's social media.
Yeah.
You know, it's Facebook in, I guess this was 2018.
Well, then that means it's factual.
Yeah, it's Facebook in 2018. I'm like, God, these people that fight and threaten each other on social media, it's just so hilarious. And then it went away, as things do. And I guess it was two years later, I get a call at the office. This is it's back when I was working my day job. I get a call at the office, and it's the FBI. And I'm like, wow, okay, what's this about? And he's like, you and 4 other people with Death's Head Press have contracts on your lives on the dark web that have been bought and paid for with cryptocurrency
Wow.
And I'm like, dude, you're serious? I'm like, I thought this was just a Facebook fight, about a book. Are you serious? Yeah, the FBI called me at work and interviewed me and said that me and a few of the other Death's Head authors, I mean, I won't say their name.
Yeah, I don't want to get them in trouble.
Yeah, I won't say their name because I wouldn't want anybody who lived close to them to be like, oh shit, that's easy money. Bam. But yeah, there was like 5 of us total with that are featured in that And Hell Followed anthology that actually have hits out on our lives that are bought and paid for with cryptocurrency. I don't know which one. It might be dried up now, might be null and void. But yeah, I actually got a phone call.
That's wild.
That is insane.
I have, because of my writing career, I had, I guess, entertainment lawyers come after me in a divorce. I have lost a job, and I have a hit out on me on the dark web paid for by cryptocurrency.
It looks like you're doing it right.
It's
writing,
not fun
man.
and games,
Go do it,
kids. It's not all fun and games. Run while you can.
Well,
that is crazy.
That's nuts. I never heard anything like that.
I didn't expect anything else from my life, man. Honestly, seriously. I'm expecting to come downstairs one morning to fix coffee and to find one of my books flipped over on the floor and one of the creatures from it has crawled out and is running around the house.
Oh man.
That's like, with my track record, that's freaking plausible. So I'm just waiting for the next thing.
So you'll have a new pet. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
We call it Fido. Come here, Fido.
I don't mind having another pet, man. I'm tired of the one that has to clean the litter box,
Oh
That's,
yeah, I got to deal with that. That's
I want to get rich enough. Like I used to work in the fine art industry. That's what I did professionally for a full-time job until I retired. I was a professional fine art handler, and I would travel around the country and handle fine art, whether it be rich people or museums or galleries. Nobody ever thinks about how those museum exhibits get from one place to another.
Yeah.
And you have professionals that come in there and white glove it and all kinds of stuff. I mean, I've actually held Renoirs, and I've held the Gutenberg Bibles. I've actually held the Gutenberg, several of the
That's
Gutenberg
cool.
Bibles.
nice.
Weird career.
I couldn't do that job. I'd be dropping
Yeah,
stuff.
just really, really weird career.
I would literally it's like all of a sudden it just shattered. It's like, oh, I'm dead.
Kicking under the rug.
Yeah, sweep.
Where's my
Telling you, man.
my duct tape hat?
I've actually been in Manhattan before on the dock of Sotheby's, and I know everyone has heard of Sotheby's. They're the auction company for like mansions and fine art and stuff like that. I've actually been on their dock before unpacking like a priceless painting and just broke a huge chunk of the frame off right in front of their registrars. You want to talk about horror? That's horror.
Man.
Oh, snap.
Yeah,
That's
horror.
not good.
You can, hey, I don't care if you like rape women in a book, like with a dead baby while a dead animal lays next to them. That is still nowhere near as scary as breaking a priceless painting on the dock of Sotheby's in Manhattan.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Hot damn. All right, well, guys, we're coming up on the end of the show here. We're going to run up. We're running a little long today because we got a little bit of a late start because somebody didn't exactly know what the hell they were doing to get the show started. Not saying any names, but we did manage to get the damn thing up and running, and we are out there for the whole world to see. I always end the show the same way every single time, and I'm going to start this week with the lady who has a brand new release out. Kristen, Vincent, would you please tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Facebook under Kristen Vincent Author. You can also find me on Instagram under, I think, Hey Vincent Author. You can find me on Amazon under Hey Vincent. You can also find me on TikTok
Yeah.
Uh,
She does dances.
yeah. But also, I believe it's Kristen Vincent or K Vincent. So, yep.
Very cool. Very cool. Mr. Castro, my man.
What's
going
going
on
on?
with you over there? I do believe you got some comic book action happening over there. In fact, hell,
That's
you
right. That's right.
might even talk to this guy over here. Maybe come up with some splatterpunk comic book action. Hell, who knows?
There you go. You guys can all find me on dmwcomics.com. Just go there. There's the social tab. You can click on that. It'll take you to my link tree, and I have all my websites and places you can find me on there. I'm most active on Facebook under DMW Comics. And you guys can follow me on there and check out my Bad Wabbit. I've got Bad Wabbit is going to be my first official comic book release, and it is in pre-launch right now on Kickstarter, and it is awesome. We got a lot of cool goodies. I'm going to have some 3D printable models, shirts, hoodies. We're in the works of getting a plush made of Toxic Pig, which is one of my characters. So it's going to be awesome. So check it out, dmwcomics.com, and shoot me a message, you know.
Well, because I'm not above shamelessly promoting things, easy for me to say. I believe a certain author is involved in the editing and such for this project.
Bad Wabbit is written by me, and it is edited by the one and only amazing Chris Philbrook. And he has helped me along this entire process, step by step. He has helped me immensely. I owe him a lot to getting this done. And I'm hoping that he will stick around for book 2. I gave Jack an unedited preview of book 2, and I think he agrees that it's going to be awesome. The first book is just an introductory kind of thing for Bad Wabbit, getting to know him and kind of getting a little glimpse of his past. And then, but going forward, it's just going to be one hell of an adventure. And I think everybody's going to be able to find something they can grasp onto within that world. It's going to be amazing. But yeah, Chris Philbrook is an amazing guy, and he's been helping a lot, man.
Fantastic. All right, Mr. Miller, let's talk a little bit about where everybody can go find these controversial books and follow you around like a choo-choo train. Man, what is up? Where can we get you, brother?
Let's see. You can fulfill all your C. Derick Miller needs, whatever those might be, at cderickmiller.com. cderickmiller.com, and that's Derick, D-E-R-I-C-K. Don't blame me, blame my agent. He's the one that gave me this name. And then I think I pretty much have all the social media places ground down to at Howl, Growl, Snarl. That's if you've read my Taste of Home trilogy, you know what that is. But at Howl, Growl, Snarl, Howl, Growl, Snarl on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, not TikTok. not TikTok, ever, never, even on what's the other damn thing called? The YouTube. Yeah,
hey.
even the YouTube. If you go to cderickmiller.com, Monday through Friday, I write like kind of random rants. I call them the Gonzo Journals. I release one of those every morning. And then most of the times I'll read it out loud to all those people who don't like to read on my YouTube channel. Also do a lot of classic like arcade game live streams on there. So yeah, my arcade cabinets can actually live stream. So
I'll be checking that.
Nice.
There's a video on there of me playing and beating Dragon's Lair while I'm blindfolded.
Oh wow.
Damn, that's memory right there. That is serious, right? Click, click.
Or
pop,
drugs.
pop, boom, boom.
Memory or drugs. One of the two.
Dragon's Lair is my arch nemesis is arcade games. I have spent millions of dollars in quarters trying to beat that game, and I don't think I ever have. So
the part where he has to crawl through the hole and shit goes up his butt, basically, you know, that's the part that sticks me every damn time. That's a stupid game. Hate that damn thing. But going back real quick before I close this whole thing out, you're talking about, you know, hope to get rich enough too. Well, I hope to get rich enough that one day not only will these books be behind me, but I'd have a couple freaking arcade machines standing behind me. I mean, come on, dude. That is freaking badass.
Starving Zoe bought me these. Okay. That Starving Zoe, the initial release bought me these. It's, dream fulfilled. Another one. I'm running out of dreams, guys.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have to come up with some more for you. Well,
I
here's
know.
a dream. Here's a dream for you. If you need to find a new home for that hardback that you got over there, it would sure look good up there. Just saying.
I don't know who all bought them. I kept one for me, and I gave the other one to my mother as a Mother's Day gift 2 years ago.
Oh, you bastard!
Awesome.
So yeah, two younger brothers who'll never be able to beat that.
Oh shit! All right, well, guys, it's been another great show, man. It was awesome to get to hang out with you. Like I said, I really met you because of the flap with Six Flags.
Right?
No hate to them. It is what it is. It went down like it did, and trust me, if stuff like that happened to me where I work, I have no doubt my company would do the exact same thing, because that's just how it works. It sucks, but it is what it is. So everybody, get ready to come back next week, because we're going to have Darren Fry on, who's going to tell us about his second book in his Psychonautic series. And we're probably going to get into other crazy hijinks, as always. So for C. Derick Miller, the guest with the best, Kristen, Vincent, and Anthony Castro, and Dungeondan, who apparently internet went, haha, finally it happens to somebody besides me. We will see y'all in 1 week to the day. I am Jack. This is the Book Asylum podcast. See y'all later.